Hello, and welcome to Inventors Helping Inventors. I'm your host, Alan Beckley, inventor of the Wonder Wallet. If you're an inventor searching for proven ways to make money with your invention, if you dream to see your product selling in stores everywhere, you've come to the right place. There's no better place to get help than from experts, inventors who've already achieved success. Every week, I interview successful inventors, asking them the questions you want to know. Tune in to learn from the experts so you can get your invention out of the tank and into the bank.
Everyone can be an inventor, and probably everyone at some point in their life has invented something. They may not have known it, but it's the invention crowd, if you like, with the guts and the conviction and the moral fiber to actually pick it up and run it forward. So are the ones who can make the difference.
Are you tapping the full power of AI to help you as an inventor? I'm going to give you the answer to that question. The answer is no. I guarantee you, you are not using the full power of AI to help you. But let's get into this. I have 3 questions to ask you. The first one we just touched on. Are you tapping the full power of AI in your business to save time and money? And if not, why not? What is your most valuable asset? Hint, it's not your invention. It's not money. It's your time. It's a precious commodity. And wasting it or not using it effectively is a cost to you and your business every day. So if you're not tapping the full power of AI in your business to save time and money, again, I say, if not, why not? Question 2, are you using AI like a smart assistant to locate potential licensees for your invention, to do competitive market research for you, and to tweak your emails for maximum impact? And follow-on question, if not, why not? Because AI can do all of these things for you, often in minutes, and save you hours of time. Finally, question 3, would you be willing to invest 90 minutes of your time to learn how to do all I just described and more, to free up at least 10 hours of your time each week so you can focus on what you do best, creativity and invention? And again, if not, why not? Now, if you answered yes to question number 3, I can help you, as I've helped other inventors over the last 6 months. Join my Tap the Power of AI workshop on Monday, November 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Just go to alanbeckley.com/tap-AI to join us. Now, if you're skeptical and you're thinking, well, I'm already using ChatGPT, here's what I can guarantee you'll learn: how to use multiple AI platforms on the same task to improve results. A simple technique to dramatically improve the answers you get from every query for every task. How to use one of the best image generation AI platforms for free, and much more. Your investment for the entire workshop is only $97. Just go to alanbeckley.com/tap-AI, and I'll see you on Monday, November 24th. Welcome to episode number 562. Today, I interview Alan Somerfield. Alan Somerfield is a British inventor, designer, and founder of ShowerSpaah, the patented shower system that mixes soap directly into the water stream, creating warm, scented bubbles on demand. He trained at the Royal College of Art in London and has worked in product innovation both in the UK and the US, including as engineering director at a Los Angeles shower brand. Alan has over 16 granted patents and a long track record of developing consumer products. But the idea for ShowerSpaah was personal. He watched his own mother struggle with balance and realized millions faced the same problem. That insight led him to create SwirlTech, the underlying inline mixing technology that sits inside ShowerSpaah and is now being explored for licensing in other markets, such as dog washing. Today, ShowerSpaah is helping make showers safer, easier, and genuinely more luxurious for people of all ages. You'll want to listen to this entire interview where Alan shares how he believes that finding competitors to your product is a good thing because it provides validation of demand for your idea. Also, how Alan shares what he thinks is the gold dust that points to a successful invention in the marketplace. And finally, how he struggled with pivoting from his original ShowerSpaah design towards a more user-friendly design because he feared the new design might not be patentable. But he made the change, and it turned out to be a better design and also was patentable. Now let's go right to our interview with Alan Somerfield. Alan Somerfield, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast with us today.
Hi, Alan. It's great to be here.
You bet. I'd like to start off by asking, Alan, if you could share a bit of your background with our listeners. Where did you grow up and go to school, and what did you do before you became an inventor? Could you share that with us?
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised down in the south of England near London. Very secure family upbringing. I went to school 6 days a week, which was a bit of a unexpected trial. But the thing about my family was my dad was always fixing stuff. So I grew up in an environment where things were always getting fixed. He'd never get a person to fix anything. So I was always employed as the kid with the smallest hands to go into those small spaces under the car and places like that to fix stuff. And what was I doing before I became an inventor? It may sound like a cliche. I think I've always been an inventor because I can remember when I was 10 years old trying to build a kind of a fairground game for my graduation party from my, what you guys would call the elementary school. So I think I've always been in that environment.
That's a common thread of a lot of people that I've interviewed for the podcast. In fact, I would say maybe with almost no exceptions, there's some kind of thread that always goes back to childhood. I've had a variety of people who were raised on a farm. And because they were raised on a farm, they had to figure out things. They couldn't just go into town every time they needed something. So they would have to put something together and devise something and be creative. So it became a natural creative bent just because they were raised on a farm. And as you said, in your case, your dad was always fixing things and he employed you to help him. My dad did some of that with me as well. And yeah, having the smallest hands was really helpful for getting into tight places sometimes. And yes, going to school 6 days a week, though, that does sound like that was not so much fun.
Yeah, we got through it.
Alan, you're a serial inventor with over 16 patents to your name. I'd like to ask, how do you stay in the game of inventing and progress forward even when facing discouraging setbacks? Because I know you've had a few. So can you share with us kind of techniques that you have to keep your head in the game, keep positively focused, even when things aren't going so well?
I think I'm one of the lucky ones in that I managed to turn the inventing game into my day job. I've got a bunch of patents behind me that are being commercialized, but actually the one I'm doing now is the first one I've put my own money behind. So it was part of my day job. I was one of those lucky people who got to carry on what I learned at school and what I love doing at home in my day job. But in that environment, it's the same as if you're doing it on your own out here in the real world. You've got to ask yourself, in terms of coping with setbacks, you've got to ask yourself why you're doing it in the first place. Is it because you just love what you're doing? Is it because you're trying to prove that you can do it? Are you just doing it to make money? Are you just doing it to solve a problem in the family or something like that? I think for me, it's always been trying to prove to myself that I can solve the problem. I'm just a problem solver. So I like difficult problems. And when you get a setback, it's, hey, if this was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? So that's where the challenge is. And to be an inventor, I think, and have any kind of success, you've got to like a challenge. So I always try setbacks and what have you, try and see them from the positive side. And I think one of the classic ones you get with people who are coming up with ideas is they're incredibly worried that they'll come across, someone else might think of it first, or they'll come across it, they'll do all the work, and then someone will show up and say, oh yeah, I saw that in Japan last year, or whatever it is. But I always say to that, actually, if you find someone else is doing the same as you, that proves there's a need for what you're doing. And there'll always be a way in which you can do it better than the competition. So if you find someone else is doing it, that's proof that you're doing the right thing, not a setback.
Those are such good points. I would just like to mention just a few of them. First of all, the why. I think the why is what is going to sustain you. At the end of the day, you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And especially when you're having tough times, you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And if the only answer is to make money, in the beginning, you're probably not making money. You're probably spending a lot. So that's not going to help. It's like rubbing salt in the wound. Why am I doing this? So I can make a lot of money. But if you're doing it because you want to make the world a better place or solve problems and create a product and put it out there that can benefit not just you, but others as well, if there's something bigger than you that drives you, that can sustain you, in my opinion, during those down times and keep you going. And so you mentioned that you're a natural problem solver. And the other thing I've said a few times on the podcast, we're in the minority when I say people like you and me and inventors, in that we see something and wonder why it's that way and why couldn't it be made better. And I'd say most of the population would just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, that's the way it's always worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you briefly share with our listeners that aha moment, the event that happened that caused you to invent your cool invention, the ShowerSpaah?
Sure. There's been two moments, really, and they're probably separated by nearly 20 years. The first one was when I was still doing the day job and I was working for a manufacturer of showers based in Los Angeles. And it was the classic moment when a customer walks into the business and says, hey guys, can we mix this stuff with the shower water? In that sense, it was a beauty product. And the sell was that if we could mix that product with the shower water, then people could take a shower and step out looking younger, which of course everyone would buy if that was for real. That was the point at which we solved the technical problem. And I think the interesting thing there to notice is that the need didn't come from me. It came from someone outside in the world who had the problem, if you like. And that's where the gold dust is in the invention world, is coming across a problem that really exists out in the real world, as opposed to just making up ideas that you think are a good idea. So that was the first step. And then the second kind of aha moment, okay, I picked it up again in the pandemic because I had a bit of time on my hands and reinvented it. But then it was a chance conversation in a coffee shop with someone who worked in the care industry that said, hey, this could be really useful for people with disabilities or mobility challenges. And I was thinking, as opposed to designing all these products that are just like maybe discretionary, like a better toaster or a better kettle or what product designers do, wouldn't it be nice to do something that really helps people? And as well as that, I was also observing my dear mother who's, how should we say, growing up and starting to experience some balance issues. And I could see that what goes on in the bathroom is a real risk to safety, and it would be great to solve that problem.
Well, again, just several great points there. And one of them I particularly liked, I don't think anyone else has ever put it quite this way, that if the problem comes to you from someone else, as you said, that's the real gold dust, because clearly, there's a need beyond just something you yourself have come up with. Now, I would argue that often when you come up with an idea on your own, because it's a problem you encounter, there's a good chance that others will have the same problem. But for sure, if it's something, in this case, a customer brought to you, then you already know there's some level of demand for solving this problem. And so that's like the primo case for an inventor. And also, I think that having an idea and doing something with it and then having a passage of time before it moves to the next phase, could be many years, is very common, to be honest. And sometimes people get frustrated with that. And I also am a big believer that the pandemic has positive side effects in that so many people reevaluated what they're doing and how they felt about their lives. And I bet there's just all kinds of new businesses and things that have sprung up from that, where somebody said, I don't even know why I'm working for these guys. I think maybe I should work on my own. So what do you think about that?
I think in 10 years' time, when we're looking at the big, exciting businesses of the day, we'll find that many of them started in the pandemic. And I think you're also exactly right. The best ideas take time, and actually taking the time, if they stand the test of time, even if it's just in the inventor's mind, that nagging idea at the back of the mind that says, hey, I've got to do something with this. This has got to be something in this. If they stand the test of time like that, it probably means it's a good idea, because we're seeing inventor-minded people see problems all around them every day. So how is it that one of them makes it to the front of the mind and then makes it out of the mind through the 3D printer or whatever it is into the real world? It's an inbuilt filter, I think, that we all have.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think it was Edison was frequently asked, Thomas Edison, where did his ideas come from and how did he come up with all these inventions? And he made a remark something like, ideas are in the ether. They're there for everybody. And I just happened to find this one and before somebody else did. And I think people who weren't inventors just thought that was perhaps a cuckoo answer, but I think he honestly believed that. And it seems like there could be some truth to it as well.
Yeah, I've often said that ideas are the easy bit. Ideas themselves are almost 10 a penny. The real problem or challenge is to find out which ideas need or which ideas have a problem that is worth solving, because invention is all well as good and we can have a lot of fun with it, but at the end of the day, we are trying to improve people's lives. I think it was Steve Jobs who said, innovation is about improving the quality of people's lives. I always like to add to that, yeah, but it's something that needs to be willing to pay for. So, that's the acid test at the end of the day.
I so much agree with that. Like you said, the 10 for a penny ideas. And people will say, I just want to sell my idea. See, I tell them, you can't sell an idea. Ideas are free. Everybody has them. It's product development. That's where the real work begins, turning it into some kind of working prototype. And then another space between turning that into some kind of a product and then doing all the research to say, does this solve a problem, as you just mentioned, that people would be willing to pay for? And can it be built at a price and sold and manufactured where there's profitability at every step of the chain? And people often don't think it through quite that far, I'd say.
And even when you manage to complete that phase, which is hugely difficult, and I'm starting to experience this now, then there's a whole other mountain to climb, especially if you've got something new that people don't really know about. Marketing and actually getting the word out about a new idea, that is a whole different ballgame.
And yeah, a real challenging one for sure. Could you describe for our listeners how the ShowerSpaah looks and functions? And does it work with almost any shower head and receptacle that people have? Could you share that with us and give our listeners a visual picture of the ShowerSpaah?
Sure. So I guess over in the USA, you're familiar with the Dyson vacuum cleaner. Is that a familiar object where you guys are?
Yes.
Cool. So I've recently figured out the best way to describe what's going on in the middle of a ShowerSpaah. And it's almost like a Dyson vacuum cleaner running in reverse. So a Dyson vacuum cleaner separates, in its case, the dust from the air. Yeah. In this case, we're mixing two things together. And what we're mixing together is soap and water. Now, that is not as easy as you might think. The people who make body wash make it really thick so that it stays on the washcloth and all these other things. It's not really designed to be used in a mixer. So that's at the heart of it. And in terms of how it looks, and this was the kind of the accidental invention moment. Maybe we'll come on to that in a minute. But you get what looks like an upside down tornado in the soap container. It's really weird and fascinating to look at. And I still don't know what exactly is going on there. And it was an accident that it happened. But all I know is that it works. So that's at the technical core. All the stuff that goes around that in terms of how it attaches to the shower system and all the rest of it. There's been pre-existing ideas and inventions around that. So that's fairly straightforward plumbing and mechanical engineering. We did two things really. The first one, because we were focusing on the disability market, we've produced a unit that works with any shower head that is connected via a hose, because I think you guys call them handles. That is because people with disabilities and so on tend to have those because they need more ability to direct the flow wherever they want it. And obviously what ShowerSpaah is doing is it's mixing soap in the water so it comes out of the shower head. You can turn it off to rinse. And the other thing we did was make it work with the soap people already have in their showers. They didn't have to buy, it's a special soap and that would cost them money every time they had a shower. So it's a flexible solution. We've got plans to make it fit the fixed overhead shower that is popular, I know, in the USA because bathrooms are bigger. But yeah, that's where it's at the moment.
Thank you for describing that. I especially like your description of the upside down tornado, visualization of the soap and water mixing, and the Dyson vacuum cleaner as a good analog to that. And I interviewed somebody who originally was with Dyson that is now with a product development company here in the US recently. So they were talking about the Dyson process, which is another story for another time, but a pretty amazing process, I would say. Also, I'd like that you brought up a point that I always like to highlight to our listeners, and that is when you're inventing a product, to the extent that it can be additive to what they already have, it's going to have a much larger potential marketplace than if they have to replace what they have with your new invention. So like in this case, what I'm talking about is it should just use existing soaps they have. So if it has to have a special soap, that just adds, I'll call it more friction to the process and decision, saying, oh, wait, no, every so often I've got to buy this new special soap just for this. But if they can take their existing soap and work with it, then it makes that purchase decision so much easier, I would say.
Yeah, and in the same way, you don't have to change. This is an upgrade, if you like an accessory. You don't have to change your whole shower systems to make this happen. It's piggybacking on an existing market, an existing set of infrastructure that's already out there that everybody has. But like you say, if you were to invent something, if you were inventing something to go on the worktop in the kitchen that wasn't a toaster, a kettle, or an air fryer, or a microwave, or all the things that people currently have, then they've got to find space, they've got to have whole new kit, they've got to have all sorts of new stuff. So I think that's a more difficult route.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And so what would you say are the strongest benefits of the ShowerSpaah? And does it make it easier, I think as you alluded to, for the elderly or disabled to shower effectively? Can you share those strongest benefits with us?
Sure. So for the elderly and disabled, so the ShowerSpaah makes it possible to take a shower with only one hand. So for people who are standing up but maybe feeling unstable, it means they can keep hold of the grab rail and keep their balance at all times, and they do not have to ever let go to pick up a bottle or squeeze it onto a washcloth or whatever. And I thought that it was the picking up, and if you've got arthritis or whatever in your hands, I thought it'd be the picking up and squeezing of the bottle that'd be hard. But talking to my users, the real risk is when they accidentally drop the bottle because they're slippery and their hands are weak. When they drop the bottle, then they're bending down to try and pick it up. And that is when people tend to slip and fall. And in the UK, about 200 people every day are admitted to hospital after falling in their bathroom. So I guess in the USA, it's probably more like 1,000 people a day. The biggest benefit of the disabled is the ability to keep their balance if they're standing up. If they're seated or in a wheelchair, having the soap in the water means the soap is reaching everywhere effortlessly. You don't have to reach. But on top of that, and we plan to take this into the broader luxury showering market, it is just a better way to take a shower. It smells fantastic because the soap is surrounding you in the water, so it unlocks the scent from your body wash. Feels great. It's warm. It's like standing in a waterfall of warm scented bubbles. So it is just a better way to take a shower. We use it at home. We're fully able-bodied. It's quicker, convenient. We have plans to broaden it out, but it was a really good place to start with the disability market.
And I hadn't thought about that. When I looked at your website, I could see there was a connection, but it didn't hit home with me that if you can shower with one hand, it reduces a lot of risks of anybody who's disabled or elderly. And there are, as you described, significant risks in a shower because all the surfaces are hard, first of all.
Yeah.
somebody falls, they can break a bone or hit their head and cause all kinds of damage. And that statistic you gave, 200 people every day in the UK are admitted to hospitals from falling. And so falling hazards, I've known this before, in showers and bathtubs is a big risk to people in general, not even just to the elderly, because anybody can slip and fall. That's such a great point. I really like that. And that you did further research to discover the greatest risk is in that they drop their bottle of shampoo or their bottle of soap and they have to bend over to pick it up. And that's when they can so easily get disoriented or slip and fall and then have an accident.
Yeah, it's hard for us lucky able-bodied people to relate to this. I also know from my customers, shampooing your hair, that involves lifting your arms up above your head and rubbing the shampoo through your hair. Some people who may have COPD or other weaknesses, they haven't got the energy to do that or the strength to get their arms above their head, or they're recovering from surgery that means they can't lift their arms. But it also works with shampoo, so it means you can at least get the soap up and on top of your head, if you like, without having to reach up and do it yourself. So it helps there as well.
Another question I have for you is, what was the biggest challenge that you had in developing the ShowerSpaah and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, this is a good one. And obviously there were many, but I think the one that kind of will hit home hardest with the inventor is that, so as I mentioned earlier, the original technical solution came about 18, 20 years ago when I was working with their shower company. And then when I picked it up again, I thought, yeah, that works. There was a fairly straightforward way to get around the patent that they had. And I stuck with their solution for probably, I don't know, 18 months and maybe 100 prototypes. But I couldn't make it user-friendly, easy to use, or as easy to use as I wanted it. And it was always nagging me in the back of my mind that when I was a kid, getting back to my early family life, when I was helping out my dad washing the car, you've had soap coming out of a car wash brush for years and years, right? And I thought, maybe that's the way to get soap to come out of a end of a hose or something like that. The reason I didn't want to try it was that I thought, if I go and try that and it works, then it will turn out I haven't invented anything. And I wouldn't want that to happen. So I shied away from that for a bit. But eventually, after much like internal turmoil, I thought, you know what? I owe it to myself and whoever might benefit from this to actually try that. And the beauty of it was, when I tried it, I built a little prototype to try it and to vary what went on. The water passed over the soap. And it was when I was playing around with that prototype when I first saw that upside down tornado I described earlier. So it was the biggest challenge, and overcoming that actually led to the real aha moment that became the actual invention at the heart of this. So it's about, you've just got to have the guts to confront it. And you never know what comes out the other side might actually be a big benefit, not a disadvantage.
Yeah, this is an excellent story. And especially wrestling with saying there's this existing solution out there, but as you begin to use it, thinking it's not as elegant as it should be. And by elegant, user friendly for the user. And then realizing, like I said, the analogy to washing your car and saying effectively bring that into the shower and worrying that maybe there's not intellectual property there. But I suspect as you went through the development process, there were unique, innovative aspects that were required to bring it in to make the product work just the way you really wanted. So then you ended up with something that truly was innovative and I would imagine patentable as well. Is that true?
Absolutely true. That's exactly the way it worked. And in other challenges and disappointments, there was and this is not really on the invention side so much, but on the marketing, like how do we get the word out? I thought all my problems were over when I ran a crowdfunding campaign back in 2021. And I remember when the campaign went live and I'd done everything right. I'd read all the books, done everything right. And when it launched, it was like hardly anything happened. That was a massive disappointment because I thought I'd done all the right things. And for whatever reason, it didn't fly. I can remember it took me like 3 days to get over that. I was so disappointed. But to get back to the earlier point, why are we doing this in the first place? I'm mainly doing this because I want to prove that I can do it to myself, if you like, as well as benefit all the other people.
That's so fantastic. As we roll towards a close, I'd like to ask you, are there any parting words you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I think I always remember that film. It was a cartoon film, Ratatouille. Did that make it over in the USA, the Pixar film, Ratatouille?
It did. My daughter just mentioned she had gone to see it last week, interestingly enough.
Fantastic. In that film, the motto is anyone can cook. And you'll always meet people who think, oh, I can't solve problems. And everyone can be an inventor. And probably everyone at some point in their life has invented something. They may not have known it. But it's the invention crowd, if you like, with the guts and the conviction and the moral fiber to actually pick it up and run it forward, who are the ones who can make the difference. And I think, getting back to that gold dust comment, my only kind of advice is just be careful if you find yourself coming up with like loads of ideas and no one seems to be taking any notice of what you're doing. The gold dust is listening to what's going on in the world around you. And if you hear something in one place, then yeah, that's interesting. But if you start hearing things in more than one place, like multiple people saying the same thing, then you're probably onto something. And especially, it's so hard to come up with a good idea for a problem area where you're not an expert. And I remember I go and see, I think you call them physical therapists. We call them physiotherapists. And this guy's an absolute expert in his field. And he talks about a new physiotherapy product he's got an idea for, but he has no clue. But that kind of partnership, when you can meet someone who is real expert in their field and can supply that kind of expert knowledge that you don't have, but then you can supply the invention and product development, all that good stuff. When you put that kind of team together, that can really change things.
Yeah, that's such an excellent point. And just the idea of the ratatouille thing, anyone can cook and anyone can invent. And it's the growth mindset, basically. There's either fixed mindset or growth mindset. And the fixed mindset says you're born with a certain set of skills and you just do the best you can with them and improve them a bit here and there. But if you're not good at math, you'll never be good at math. Whereas the growth mindset says truly your brain is very fluid, so to speak, and you can learn anything if you put your mind to it. So that's the growth mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
My last question is, how can our listeners reach you if they have other questions or would like to purchase from you?
You can reach us at the website, which is www.showerspaah.co.uk. I should say that ShowerSpaah is spelt like it sounds, but the R is spelt double A-H, like we put the R in spa. So www.showerspaah.co.uk, not com, but .co.uk. You can contact me through the website. It comes straight to my inbox. I will absolutely answer your message if you get in touch. And if you want to experience standing in a waterfall of warm scented bubbles, or someone who might benefit from the easier, safer showering, then we're shipping to the USA and I'd be more than happy to solve any problems you might have.
I've enjoyed so much talking to you and learning about the ShowerSpaah and your invention journey and all the things you've come through in doing that. And of course, just for the shortness of this podcast, we didn't even get with a stop lock and some other things you've done with all those years ago. So you are truly a serial inventor. But I'd like to reserve the opportunity to touch bases with you in another 6 months or a year and see what you guys have got going on at that time.
That'd be great. It's been great to be here today. And if I knew what was going on in 6 to 12 months, I'd be a rich man. But it'd be great to touch base and see what's gone on in that time in the future.
That sounds great. Thanks again for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Alan. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Inventors Helping Inventors. If you like the show, please tell your friends about it. Make sure to subscribe in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts so you won't miss a single episode. Talk to you soon.